Okay, we're going to begin the curriculum and instruction meeting for April 24th, 2023. In attendance are myself, Beverly Albright.
Jennifer Leone.
Tanya Bell.
Kristen Thompson.
Angela Owens.
Record.
Okay, and to start off, we're going to start with the similar academic connection update.
Just a quick update that so far 149 students have signed up. April 30th is the cutoff date for registration. Another announcement went out to see if we can get some more people to sign up. Well done.
What's your goal for that?
I'm trying to think what we had last year. I think we had about 170 last year. So.
I see all the emails for it, but there's so many people that don't know what it is. So I don't know if the advertising is not good.
Okay, I can look into that. I can talk to, maybe we can put something else out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, what is that? And I was like, I don't know if they ignore the emails or...
Yeah, maybe we could do something where each building principal specifically sends like an individual email out. That could be...
Well, yeah, and you could even just be like looking for extra help
fun
over the
flyer.
summer. Yeah, like
Yeah,
People like
because
flyers.
right now only the links have gone out with the explanation, but it's only been like district-wide.
right.
Do you have pictures from like prior years?
Mhm.
Because people think it's like summer school or...
Right.
I mean, I guess it's sort of is. But.
And you're right, because this is we've been around for a while, so sometimes you take that for granted. I
Right.
think that everybody knows, but people don't, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the second annual Job and Career Fair, the
I
recap.
just wanted to bring this up because just give a shout out to Maria Rapchinsky because she did such a fabulous job again this year with the internship and career fair. 29 businesses were represented and here at the high school. And really, we received a lot of great feedback and just a couple of examples. Tompkins Bank, their feedback was they loved seeing the students come through, that they were, there was a lot of teamwork that they saw and leadership displayed by our students, which of course that just makes us so proud as a district. And she noticed that the students helped setting up and they got treat bags for being part of the event, so she just couldn't say enough good things. And then another group reached out and just said how pleasantly surprised they were by the respectful students and the staff, how friendly they all were, and then finally one last person just talked about the life skills class students that they helped out, and they came to their car and helped them bring stuff in, so just a lot of good stuff.
Okay. And then on to the social studies textbook review.
So this is just, I had talked about this before, that this was coming, so just a couple brief points that I'll bring up about this. So just like in previous reviews, when we did the ELA program review and the math, we talk about this a lot as a board and administration, how students need access to high quality instruction and teachers have to have access to the high quality instructional materials. So we evaluate our teachers on a rubric, a pretty intensive rubric, made up of many components, all based on the framework for teaching. And one component that teachers have to adhere to is using resources effectively to teach the students. And it's our job as a school board and administration to provide these high quality instructional materials to our teachers. So I think that's something we all can agree on. And in this case, we, just like before, we started very broad, and we told the teachers they could start as broad as they would like. There was no limit to what they could look at for resources to teach their curriculum. And through that, they narrowed the selections down to 2. And remember, keep in mind, tonight I'm only talking about grade 8 and U.S. History 1, because that's what they prioritized as a department, was the most needy, because we didn't want to get everything at once. We wanted to just get a couple at a time, whatever they prioritize. And then they use a rubric to score the resources. The rubric that they used had 7 criterion, and I'll just briefly explain each one of them. Organization basically looks at the textbook, how if it's presented in a logical, organized manner, and if it's appropriate for the grade, age, and maturity of the students. Scope and sequence looks at the logical progression among units of study. Organizational properties refers to things like the titles, the subheadings, cross-referencing, things like that. Readability is appropriate for grade level, including vocabulary that is, some vocabulary that's challenging, and then some that's just familiar to them. Visuals refers to the illustrations, the graphics, everything that supports the text. And instructional strategies looks at the materials and how they give students opportunities to integrate skills and concepts. And then finally, alignment with the PA standards is self-explanatory. And so of those two, then we went ahead and got quotes, and it comes to about $16,000 per year for the next 6 years. Basically, they're all a couple thousand, I think, but each of them are pretty much in that ballpark. The only other difference is that the SATIS program, the one that they looked at for US 1, can also be used for US 2 if need be. So they liked that about it. And then as far as I'm in the process now, I'm going to get some other district names so we can talk to them, but I just wanted to at least just bring this to you because I knew that you had all done your homework and took a look at the resources that I sent to you. So that's where I'm going to end.
All right, and what timeline are we looking at here? When does this go?
Next school year.
No, to pick, which one are we picking?
I would love if it could be on the voting meeting for May.
Okay, all right. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order? All right, then the curriculum meeting is over at 6:06. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were here for something else, Shane.
No, I
Would you like to make
wasn't
some
here.
public comment about curriculum?
Yes.
Well, come on up.
I mean, can't you hear me fine, or?
No. Let's make it official.
Shane Coppell, 830 Daggertown Road. My question is, what is the purpose? Like, is this being state mandated? Why are we looking at new textbooks?
Because some of our textbooks are 25 years old.
So they are?
They're out. Oh, it's very, very outdated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Huh? I'm sorry. Well, I was being generous. I didn't want to sound bad on tape. Yeah.
no, that's fine. And
Yeah.
What about the math? How old were those
That's
books?
being phased out.
That-
Go Math is ending.
That's getting phased out there. You couldn't get an update for that. But how old was that? Was that 7?
I think 2013 was when we got it.
Okay,
But
so,
also keep in mind,
but math and English have to be updated much more frequently than social studies and science normally, typically.
and Shane, those are consumables, and also you're thinking about a digital platform as well.
Right. No, and that was kind of my purpose of coming here for this meeting, is it seems, you know, with our costs and our spending, it seems, you know, we just keep spending and spending money. And, you know, I knew our math books weren't too old. And I remember the whole reason why we went to the MacBooks was to kind of phase out this cost. And it seems now we have a huge cost on renting MacBooks, and then we have huge cost of getting books and digital platforms to go with the MacBooks.
Well, I will say that the social studies curriculum here, I mean, we're in a sad state with our at social and in Springford, but this was even longer.
I
Like
mean, I
it has to,
understand 25 years.
right? And there's a lot of history that's now not being talked about because it's not in the book. Like we're ending.
And with your options, why would you pick something that you're gonna have to update in 6 years? I mean, it seems like the cost
I
was,
assume that if you have an iPad, you have to like update this.
no, the social studies.
Yeah,
program.
it comes with a digital. So the digital.
Right, but if you saw
you pay for
her,
a subscription every year for a lot of things.
if you saw her screen, it said for 6 years. What
Mhm.
happens after that 6 years?
Yeah, so the digital component, you have to keep that up, the licenses. You
Right.
have to keep the licenses up.
So maybe that should be something that you guys consider a program with a longer update, maybe a 10-year. I mean, we have to try to figure out costs plus making sure kids get a good education. So I would also recommend thinking about the cost over the time period because,
Well, that's not, that 100,000 isn't for a 6-year contract, that's per year. Like, it's broken down, like, I don't know,
Right,
what does that
and
come out
the other
to? Like
piece that
15 a
we
year?
We were very aware of cost, believe me, and so much needs to be replaced.
Which is why we only did the US history for 8th
Yes.
grade, and we didn't do every grade that needed
And we
it.
also didn't get physical books for every student. It's the digital licenses for every student. We have to get some physical books, but we really were aware of that.
So when it said 3 classrooms, so how many books is that for 3? So you're,
Like 90.
so you're.
Like a class set.
Right, so it'd be 90 books plus the,
Digital licenses for.
Digital.
For every student.
Yeah.
right. And then what other programs will be going along with this in the future? So this is just History 1 and 8th grade.
Correct.
So does this go all the way down to kindergarten and all the way up to,
No.
These actual publishers, yes, have that capability. But really, it all comes down to our curriculum and the standards. So what we have to teach. Sometimes what's in the book it has stuff that we don't have to teach. Sometimes it doesn't have in what we do have to teach. So we do sometimes have to piece together other things. And especially in social studies, you talk about, we've had this discussion before about primary resources. You want to use stuff that's authentic and, you can piece it together. Some of those things you can piece together as a teacher, but there's also a fine line of we want all of our kids getting the same instruction. So, do you want teachers just pulling materials from anywhere?
right, no, I understand that. So with what is going to be the total cost to update our social studies
K
curriculum?
to 12? K to 12?
Yes.
I don't know. I can find out. I can cost it all out. I can ask.
I mean,
the boards, but we prioritize.
But that's,
grade.
yeah, and that's why we're not doing it all, because you can't.
Right, but maybe there might be a benefit, it might be to our benefit to do that, if there's a cost savings over the time period. I mean, if you're looking at 10 different programs to pick from, I mean, they're all going to be great programs compared to what we have now.
Okay, fair. I was going to say, yeah,
So,
I'm not.
I mean, so you're going to have a whole different range of costs and contract.
Which is why it's so ironic that the top two we narrowed it down to are within $1,000 of each other. They're pretty evenly
Yeah.
matched.
Then when you add the rest, how do those compare? So option 1 and option 2, when you start adding the other grades,
Right,
one might be, you might pick one that's, that you like the best,
right.
but then when you start adding the other grade levels, it's
Yeah, I
twice
mean,
as
I guess we could see if there's,
expensive
I would assume, and you know what they say when you assume, but I would assume that the random 2 grades we picked, if they're equal in price, the other ones would be too, but we could look into what the other grades are in case, like, for some reason, one kindergarten program's like 30 times the amount of
I
another.
will say, I'm sorry that I said K to 12. We did this 5 to 12. This is what our teachers looked at stuff 5 through 12.
Okay,
So, I just want to put that out
That's
there.
fine.
all right,
Okay, that was kind of my only question.
okay.
Thank you.
No,
Sure.
Good thoughts, thank you.
Thanks for talking at my meeting, Shane.
What's that?
Thanks for talking at my meeting.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna adjourn now at 6:14.